Mics are hot, and we are live. Good morning, everybody. Philly with Jon Marks on PHLY. As always, brought to you by Bet Parks. And oh, do I have some juicy odds on the Phillies and Mets series, which will start tomorrow down at Citizens Bank Park. If there's anybody waking up this morning that is fretting over the New York Mets, please just stop right now. Please stop right now. The time for that and the puke bucket, and I'll have the puke bucket next to me during the game on Saturday. There's no doubt about that. But that's so Monday and Tuesday of this week. Phillies and Mets. I'm watching the game last night, and it wasn't in the ninth inning, but it was in the eighth inning. And I'm thinking to myself, this kind of sucks if the Brewers end up winning this game. Because in my head, I had already decided it's going to be the Phillies and Mets. The Mets are going to win this series. And I got myself ready for it. And I talked myself into saying, this is what's going to happen. And here are all the reasons why this is a great reason for it to happen. So I started getting disappointed. And then the ninth inning happened. And as annoying as this Mets team is, and they're annoying, and as annoying as their fans are going to be down at Citizens Bank Park and all over social media, this is the best case scenario as a Phillies fan. For the Phillies, crying out loud. All right? You can't run away from good teams if you're going to win a World Series. And sure, you want to have favorable matchups. The Phillies had favorable matchups when they won in 2008. But they're not going to get a preferred matchup or what team you decided that you wanted to play for whatever reason. They're playing the freaking Mets. The Phillies are a better team than the New York Mets. Starting pitching, they both have good starting pitching. I'll take Zach Wheeler game one, and that's really how you want to start the series off. The Phillies are rested. The Phillies bullpen, this is the best bullpen they've had in a while. We'll talk about all these different reasons why I feel great, but regardless, embrace this series. Honest to God, I just did TV on Fox 29 Good Day. They're having a pep rally. They're on the 11 o'clock. I was on with Mike and Alex, and they're like, oh, no, we don't want to play the Brewers. We did a poll yesterday. Everybody, we want to play the Brewers. We don't want to play the Mets. Oh, my God. And they were like, kind of like, oh, this isn't a good thing. The Mets are hot. Screw that. Let's not talk this BS in the reality. The Phillies are a good team. The Mets are a good team. This is going to be a tough series. This is not going to be easy. The Mets, the way they come back in games, that look that they have, that the Phillies had in 2022, that the Diamondbacks had last year, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. But the Phillies are a good team. That's a real thing too. So we're not talking this BS into existence. I am so excited for this series. This almost is like a football playoff World Series. If there was a Brewers and Phillies series right now, what would we be talking about? Oh, the Brewers won last night. Screw the Mets. Ha, 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 ha. Screw the Mets. And then we wouldn't even really be focusing on the Brewers. We would just be talking about the Phillies. A lot of people would probably overlook Milwaukee, which you shouldn't do. But the juice to this series, the energy that this is going to bring to this series, both locally and nationally, this is a big thing. The Phillies and Mets, they've never been in the division round at the same time. Forget about playing each other. This has never happened before. So those loser Met fans are going to get tickets, and you shouldn't sell it to them, but they're going to get tickets. They're going to come down, and Citizens Bank Park at a little bit after 4 o'clock on Saturday is going to be nuts. And we'll have the pitching matchups for you. I have some odds here on the series as well, which makes me feel great about the Phillies as well. But, Tyler Zulli, last night, I'm watching the game. I was watching, going back and forth with the Thursday Night Football game, and then really got centered on Mets Brewers there in the last couple innings. Of course, it had to be Pete Alonso that gets the home run. But the Mets are a good team. Embrace it. Embrace it. This is going to be a great series. This is going to be a back-and-forth series maybe at time. This is going to be a series where you think you're out of it, and then there's some late runs and bullpens fall apart and things like that. This is going to be an excruciating series, and the Phillies will win it. Let's go. Get any negativity out of your head right now. No more. It's not the time. Today is the day that we focus on the Mets and we focus on winning. So don't do it. How are you feeling about things there, Tyler, this morning?
It's kind of funny. I've been trying to say this like every day for the last couple of days now. No matter who you play, this is postseason baseball. Every team is good. That's why they're here. There are no White Sox. There are no Rockies. There are no Angels in this postseason. Last year, the Phillies got maybe the easiest postseason draw I have ever seen in the wild card round playing against the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
Good pitching staff, couldn't score runs. They got in on the strength of the fact that they were like 28-4 in one-run games last year. It was an amazing performance by their pitching.
Yeah, look at them this
did
year.
A great job. Right, look at them this year. This playoff, if I asked you, who do you think the worst team remaining in the DS is? Between the 8 teams that are left, who's the worst team left? On paper, who's the worst team left?
You want to say the Tigers, but then you look at their starting pitching. And yeah, you say the Tigers. And the Tigers just swept the Astros on the road.
And that's my point. Maybe the Tigers are the worst team left, but they have been playing excruciatingly hot baseball for the last month. The only team that's had a better record than them since September, I believe, is the New York Mets, who have, or maybe it's the inverse. Those two are the top, the Met. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make here is there are good. Every team that's left is a good baseball team. You have to have respect for this Mets team. They fight. They claw. And by the way, they have a $300 million payroll. They're supposed to be good. I feel good heading into this series. I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag out, haymaker type of series. And I think the Phillies have a really legitimate chance at winning this thing because of the fact that I trust their pitching staff enormously.
Yeah, well, we'll break it down. But yeah, they're not huge favorites. They're significant favorites. I was fishing around all over, kind of looking at the lines, and we obviously use the BetParks app for all the lines that we do. But for the series, the Phillies are minus 185. So if you're not well versed or versed in betting, that means if you wagered $100 and if you wagered $185 and the Phillies won the series, you would win $100. So they're minus 185. The Mets are plus 150. So if you wagered 150 on the Mets to win the series and they won, you would win 150. So that is a pretty significant favorite for the Phillies. Now, if they lose game one, that will totally shift. But right now, when you look at what they do now is they put out, all right, well, how many games is this going to go? So they've pretty much decided over 4.5 or under 4.5 games. So if you believe this is a 4-game series or you believe this is a 5-game series because it's a best of 5, it's significantly minus 190 for under 4.5 games. So it's an even bigger odds for the Phillies that it goes 4 games or less. So when you look at it right now, the favorite is for the Phillies to win the series and then for them to do it in 4 games. Game 1, Zach Wheeler, minus 190. And we'll talk about all the pitching matchups that it looks like that Tyler McGill is the best possibility for the Mets to go game 1 just based on all their pitchers and their rest and things like that. Zach Wheeler is a significant favorite. He's on his regular rest, more than regular rest. He's one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. He's one of the best big game starting pitchers in baseball. Look at his postseason stats. This dude has done it. So if they don't win game 1, the Phillies will not win this series. I'll just come out, and doesn't mean that they have to necessarily lose it, but the Mets have all the forward momentum going into this series, and I believe in forward momentum. Year to year, do I believe in it? No. Series to series? Of course, we've seen it in Major League Baseball. You win game 1 with Zach Wheeler, as you should, that sets the tone for the series. So I feel very good about this series with the Phillies. I do. Now, also this, and I watched last night. I was on social media quite a bit after the Mets won. I was still up watching the Thursday night game. And I gotta say, as annoying as Mets fans are, and they're annoying, I also kind of felt good for them. Similar to the Knicks fans before they came to Philly and they were dirty in Philly. But I kind of felt good for him because the Knicks had been so bad for so long, and New York's a really good basketball town. And it was like I remember feeling like that when the process was finally over and the Sixers started winning. I remember feeling in 2007, after they hadn't won for a decade and a half, I remember that run with the Phillies and how good it felt. The Mets, they've had a little bit of success here and there. They haven't won a championship in almost 40 years. 40 years. Most Mets fans don't remember that. You would have to be in your 40s to remember them even winning a championship in 1986. So, like, you watch it and you're like, all right, like, you feel good for the Mets fans. They're really annoying. To me, it feels like in this series, with the players and with the fans, but the whole tone of the team is that now they think they're going to walk into Citizens Bank Park and they're going to beat the Phillies based on what they did against the Brewers. And it doesn't necessarily work like that just because Major League Baseball has seen this with the wild card team in recent years. The Phillies are a very good team with very good starting pitching. And the Mets had to play 2 games on Monday and had to play 3 games since then. They may be exhausted to start this series, and you go down early in Citizens Bank Park, the series actually could be over quickly. Now, I'm going to allow for the Mets because they battle and they never seem out of a game, and there's substance to this team. They're good. The Phillies are better. But, Tyler, I did feel good for Mets fans. Do we have any of do you have the video of Sal Licata that I put up? So, Sal Licata is the midday host of WFAN. We used to follow each other on social media. He unfollowed me, by the way, just so everybody knows. But he came on when I did national radio for CBS Sports Radio. Sal was the show before me. I did overnights Sunday morning. Sal did 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I like Sal. He's crazy, but I like him. So here's Sal after the game. Big New York Mets fan. He puts this video up after the game. Here he is. Here's Sal Licata.
Yeah! Last at bat, baby! Yeah! That's what we've been waiting for! Yeah, Pete! Sign him up!
So when I say I feel good for him, don't you want to kind of pat Sal on the head?
Not particularly.
Well, I mean, maybe not pat him on the head, but give him atta guy. Like, you feel good for him because the franchise has been so pathetic and the ownership has been both so pathetic. I mean, look at the Mets. Bernie Madoff and his Ponzi scheme ruined the Mets, like legitimately and really ruined the Mets. So you kind of be like, oh, it's so cute. Mets fans are happy. To me, this feels like that they just won their World Series, the Mets fans. But it was cool. So they're doing a watch party in Shea Stadium. And so here's what it looked like. Here's how it sounded when the Pete Alonso home run. And you know what? And not taking anything away from him, but if that's to any other part of the park, it's not a home run. I mean, just enough. He went the other way with it. I still can't believe it went out. Off the bat, it looked like a fly out to, not even the warning track. But here's how it looked in Citi Field last night. And this is Howie Rose's call. It's synced up to their radio call of Howie Rose, Mets radio. Here it is.
Williams sets. Here's the pitch. Swing on a fly ball to right field. Pretty well hit. Freeland back at the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career. Pumps his fist as he rounds second. It's a 3-run homer. He's given the Mets a 3-2 lead. They all pour out of the dugout. Alonso on his way to home plate. They're waiting for him. He hits the plate. He is first congratulated by Nimmo. Hugged by Lindor. There are a dozen Mets waiting for him outside the dugout. Pete Alonso keeps this fairy tale season going with the fairy tale swing of his career. 3-2.
Amazing. That's why we watch sports right there, even if it's the Mets. It was an amazing 9th inning right there. It takes me back to 2007 with the Phillies. It was so emotional because we hadn't seen it in so long. It was so emotional. And a lot of that team, the core of that team, had fallen short a couple times and then finally did it in 2007 with a finish down 7 with 17 to play. It's for the ages. Amazing, right? What happened in that first round against the Rockies? That was an ugly, ugly series. Got swept by the Rockies. Right there, to me, that looks like the Mets, even though it was the playoffs. That looks like the Phillies in 2007. They come in here for a team that's ready for them. Now, here's the thing, and we're going to get to our headlines in a second. Tyler, the Phillies better be ready for this team, right? Like, I could sit here and say that they have veteran players, that Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler, Sanchez, and we'll talk about the starting pitching stuff. Sanchez, like we can talk about all that stuff, but the Phillies also have to hold up their end of the deal here. So they better, because that's what I think of this baseball team. I think that this is a baseball team that really, after the last 2 seasons, this should be the year they make it to the World Series.
Well, of course they need to hold up their end of this thing. They won 95 games this year. They were the 2 seed. They jumped out to one of the hottest starts in their franchise's history through the first couple of months. They are, on paper, the better team. I think across most assets, if not all assets, of this matchup. I believe they have a better lineup. I believe they have a better pitching staff, starting rotation. I believe they have a better bullpen. The Mets bullpen has been taxed over the last couple of days between the doubleheader against the Braves and last night. Edwin Diaz has thrown like 100 pitches in the last 5 days. That's going to tax you eventually. They've used Stanek a lot. They've used Maton a lot. So yeah. I think everything, and it's what we talked about when this series began, no matter who you play, it's like that rest versus rust thing. The Phillies have all of the setup to be the team that wins this series. Your starting rotation gets set the way that you want it to get set, in any order that you want it to get set, whether it's Sanchez 2 and Nola 3 or Nola 2 and Sanchez 3. You have any particular order that you want. You have the first 2 games of the series at home. You're facing a team who has had to throw a lot of pitches, not just in the series against Milwaukee. By the way, the only series that went 3 games in the wild card round, but also a team that had to play a doubleheader on Monday. And I know that game 2 didn't matter. They started Joey Lucchesi and a bunch of guys it was low leverage guys in that game for the most part, but they had to use Edwin Diaz a lot to win game 1. The point is, you should have everything lined up structurally for you to win this series.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you could take the Mets lightly. They're still a good baseball team. When
the Phillies won in 2008, the thing that they had was Cole Hamels starting game 1 of every series. Rested, ready to go. If they don't,
I think
remember,
it matters.
The Phillies clinched on the second to last day of the season, so Cole Hamels didn't have to pitch that last day of the season. If he has to pitch the last day of the season, then you're not able to have him rested and lined up where you want him to pitch. It matters. Zach Wheeler's last 11 starts were maybe the best 11 starts he had all season as far as a run. He's hot entering the playoffs. Zach Wheeler's hot entering the playoffs. This bullpen has looked excellent. I feel very, very good about where we are right now. We'll do headlines coming up in a second here, but let's talk about Rite Aid. Because guess what? Tyler heard me calling the pediatrician shortly before I came on the air. Yep, another fever. How is this possible? This is my life. So youngest daughter, throwing up on the bed at 5 o'clock in the morning the other morning. Yesterday, at dinner time, I'm like, you don't look right. To my oldest, feel her head, temperature, 102 temperature, right? Constantly going on in my house. Rite Aid. I'm always there. Like children's Motrin, cold medicine, tissues, everything that you need, Rite Aid's got for you. And if you need a lot of prescriptions, pharmacy. I know I do. I'm type 1 diabetic. Rite Aid, listen, this is what they do. They make it easy for you. All right? You don't want to have to think about it. You don't want to have to be like, oh, man, I'm out of medicine and now I need to call in and I don't have anything to take. No. They can take care of you. My pharmacy account at Rite Aid. Take everything right over the app, right? And you can also enroll in automatic courtesy refill. So just like get all of your prescriptions. Rite Aid takes them for you, automatically refills them, can even schedule them so you pick them all up in one bundle. So you don't have to come multiple times a week or multiple times a month. It's free and easy, all right? Restrictions may apply, but get right now to wherever you get your apps, whether it's Google Play or the Apple App Store, and get the Rite Aid app. The My Pharmacy account. Get personalized care recommendations. All you need. And if you have prescriptions at Rite Aid right now, you're good to go. All right? But again, whatever you need, this is what's great with Rite Aid. And I go to the Royers for one by my house. The pharmacists, you have questions, ask them. That's what they're there for. They're just not there to put pills in bottles. They're actually there to help you. Cold season, allergy season, everything else. Check them out and get to Rite Aid. There you go. All right. Headlines coming up in 1 second, but you're the Shady Rays guy.
Yeah, we got to tell you about Shady Rays before we go on, because guess what? The weekend's weather is going to be beautiful. Playoff baseball in the mid to high 70s, 4 o'clock first pitch, which means the sun is going to be kind of right beating down on you at Citizens Bank Park. So if you're looking for a pair of shades that are going to help you not only block out the Rays, but block out the Mets haters as well, Shady Rays is the way to go. They have 300,000 people have rated them 5 stars, and they are one of the best independent sunglass companies in the world. They have durable frames and crystal clear optics. So guess what? You're going to look good. You're going to feel good. They're going to feel good on your face. And the best part is, if you ever lose or break or damage your glasses, they have the best protection in all of eyewear, because every pair is backed by a lost or broken replacement. And if you don't love your shades for any reason, don't worry. You can return them worry-free up to 30 days. So there is no risk to you when you shop. If you buy a pair, you buy them online, they get to your house, they don't fit properly, you don't like the way they look, you send them back, you get the pair that you really want. And for all of our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. If you head on over to shadyrays.com and use the code PHLY, you will get 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. So try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by 300,000 people, myself included.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much,
And
Tyler.
Johnny Marks styling with them.
Yeah, I halfway annoyed that I still haven't gotten a pair of Shady Rays. You know, the big partner with PHLY, and I love these. And I actually I have another brand which is like nice, but it's compared to putting these on, it's weird. It brightens stuff up, but it's still sunglasses.
That's the polarized lenses, man. They're the best.
That's unbelievable. All right, there we go. We'll do the pitching matchups coming up here, because we're trying to figure out what the Mets will do. So we'll do that after we do some headlines. But let's get to the headlines with Tyler Zulli. What's up, Tyler?
Yeah, let's do it. And, of course, our headlines are brought to us by our friends over at the Glatt Hair Restoration, because bald is now optional. And if you want to look great and feel great, you want to get in with our friends over at Glatt. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go online, and as I try to scramble because my computer just crashed and try to remember what the website is, it's glatthairmctr.com, or call 610-980-4000 to get started. They have the right hair treatment for you. You help you regain your confidence. Speaking of confidence, the Mets are coming into this one confident as can be. As you made mention, we talked about it. We don't have to get too much into detail. The Mets win yesterday on a go-ahead home run by Pete Alonso. And the Milwaukee Brewers, one thing we got to talk about, John, after the Brewers season ends in the wild card round, is John Boy Media did a breakdown of it already. They're the best with that kind of stuff. They get to it so quickly. Apparently, Devin Williams was tipping his pitches last night in the 9th inning. It had something to do with his glove side setup and where his hand was like positioned in the glove, and how he was gripping the baseball was kind of giving things away for the Mets. But on top of that, he couldn't throw a lot of strikes last night. His location was poor, and when you're only a 2-pitch pitcher and your fastball location's not there, and you go to your changeup, which, by the way, is one of the best pitches in baseball, but when it becomes a singular pitch, it becomes much easier to pick up on.
When it's predictable.
Right. And so the Mets win this one 4-2. Jose Quintana goes 6 shutout innings. Edwin Diaz threw an inning in 2/3. David Peterson ends up getting the win out of the bullpen. So, again, the Mets are heading to the NLDS to take on the Phils.
Yeah, and while I say that, I was thinking like, man, I'm kind of disappointed it's not going to be the Mets if they lose. Then you talking right there, I'm like, oh, God, I wish they would have lost. Just to get them the hell out of here so we could crush Mets fans and be like, goodbye. But they earned it. It wasn't a bad pitch. It's just like you had said.
I mean, he went.
If you're looking for it, he kept his hands back, and he's strong enough to where he can send it out to right field like that. And it's just sometimes you got to give the batter credit, and that was just a good spot.
There's a reason that Devin Williams' changeup is called the airbender. It's one of the nastiest pitches in baseball. I don't know about you, John. It felt a little flat last night. It just looked like it didn't have as much downward dive as it normally does, and maybe that's because he was trying to overthrow to correct. But you're right.
Big spot right there,
You're
brother.
right. It was a big spot for Pete Alonso. He came through and did what he needed to do. It could have been potentially his last at bat as a Met, and he extends their season at least another 3 games.
And you know when stuff gets flat? When it's the bottom of the 9th and you're trying to clinch a series and you have a 2-0 lead. Well, that's a big moment.
Yeah,
and you put a couple runners on base, which he did, runners at first and third, and Alonso's dangerous up there. Yeah, man, that's a tough way to lose. If you're the Brewers are one of 3 teams. The third, maybe. I heard somebody say this morning. When was the last time the Brewers were even in a World Series that they won the National League or the American League before that? Because they were an American League team. It's got to be close to 50 years.
Well, they don't have a win, right? They don't have a World Series win under their belt. They're one of the few teams still left that haven't.
Last time Brewers won pennant. I mean, because so they won in 1982. Won the AL pennant in 1982. So it's been 42 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Switch leagues.
Yeah.
The Astros did it. They went back to the World Series like 12 times.
Seattle's never been to a World Series, and there's one other team that I'm missing.
That has never been?
Well, that it's been long since they've won a pennant. Seattle's never been to a World Series.
Seattle has never been to a World Series. That's correct.
No.
I mean, Cleveland hasn't won a World Series since the 40s. Obviously, they won the pennant in 16, but lost to Chicago.
Tigers won in 84.
The Pirates haven't won a World Series since the 70s.
It's the Pirates. 1979, the We Are Family team. Pirates haven't been to a World Series since 79.
There you go.
That's the other team.
So now we have the DS matchup set. It's the Tigers and the Guardians kick things off tomorrow at 1. Phillies and Mets at 4. Royals, Yankees at 6. And the Padres and Dodgers are the nightcap at 8:30. John, there is a 100% chance that at least one AL Central team is playing for a chance to go to the World Series.
Yippee.
100% chance.
Yeah, you're right.
So let's move on because I know we're going to talk more about it. Let's get into last night's Thursday night football game.
Yes.
Actually was a really exciting game for a Thursday night game. Falcons end up winning this one in overtime. We all across the board took the Falcons with the points yesterday.
We did.
They win 36-30. Kirk Cousins goes for 509 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Baker Mayfield was efficient, didn't throw for a ton of yards, but threw for 3 touchdowns and was 19 of 24. Drake London had 154 receiving yards. Mike Evans scored 2 touchdowns in this one, and the Falcons improved to 3-2 with a 36-30 win over the Bucs, who fall to 3-2 as well.
Yeah, it's the nature, and you're right. All three of us yesterday were like, "No, this is one of these short week." Buccaneers are coming off a big win against the Eagles, where everybody's talking about them. Tom Brady was doing the game; it was the big game. Oh, the Bucs blew out the Eagles, and they're stiffening themselves a little bit. Short week, Atlanta in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised. Kirk Cousins, 509 yards. And believe me, I'm no Kirk Cousins fan, but when you look at the numbers that he puts up, and he does win games, he doesn't win playoff games necessarily, but he wins a good amount of games, and I would never want him to be my quarterback. But, I mean, geez. So that was a good game last night. It was an exciting game.
Now, granted, 509 yards will do this for you, but through 5 games this year for the Falcons, he has thrown for just shy of 1,400 yards, which, it's about 280 a game or something like that.
Yep.
For a guy who can't move still, he's still very limited in his he was always limited in his mobility, but now especially with the Achilles, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks, 1,400 yards, 67% completion percentage. That's the one thing with Kirk Cousins we always talk about. Kirk Cousins, he's thrown 5 interceptions through the first 5 games, which is a lot for him, but he protects the football. He throws the high completion percentage pass. He's had a season, I believe, where he topped 70%. Completion a couple years ago.
70.1%.
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins, since he's become a full-time starter, this is in 2015 with the Commanders, 4,100 yards, 4,900, 4,000, 42, 36, 42, 42, 45. Last year he was injured. Lifetime he's thrown for 40,000 yards, 278 touchdowns, 115 interceptions. By the stats alone, he looks like a potential Hall of Famer if he continues to compile numbers. But really, he's a number compiler.
Yeah, I mean, if you did a silhouette and just said, "Hey, here's the numbers. Is this guy? How good is this guy?" People will go, "Whoa, that guy's great."
I want him to be my quarterback.
And then you pop the silhouette up and you go, "Oh, it's Kirk Cousins, who, like you said, does a nice job, wins some games, and is never going to be a primetime quarterback. He's never going to be a legitimate playoff threat quarterback."
No.
But if bringing in a Kirk Cousins for this Atlanta team is kind of the move that they needed to make in terms of, and they obviously brought him in before they drafted Michael Penix, but now having Penix, who probably was one of the more project type quarterbacks of the first round picks, allows him to sit and grow and see if he can actually be the quarterback of the future. You have Kirk Cousins on, I believe, a 2-year deal. This is a good move. I mean, it ended up being a good move for Atlanta. They're a team that's going to compete.
Yeah, give him credit because Cousins has played well, right? Give him credit because if this could have very easily blown up in his face and he'd be benched by now.
Sure,
but it didn't. I mean, he's like Phillip Rivers is. I think Phillip Rivers ends up making the Hall of Fame just based on his numbers. Like Phillip Rivers to me was more of a stat compiler than a good quarterback or a great quarterback.
Not a big Phillip Rivers guy.
Yeah, like great quarterbacks should make the Hall of Fame. Good quarterbacks should not. And Phillip Rivers was a good quarterback that because he piled up yardage numbers, he won 4 games, 5 games, 9 games, 5 games, 11 games. And he would like I said, he was a good quarterback. But he has 63,000 yards. By comparison, you look at Donovan McNabb's numbers. Donovan was a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers was.
Agree.
His career was over pretty early. Once he was cooked, he was cooked. And he wasn't a great passer. He doesn't have great passing yards. He was a better football player than Phillip Rivers. I'd take Donovan over Phillip Rivers any day of the week. And Kirk Cousins for that matter. But you look at the numbers and you're like, wow, man, Phillip Rivers. Big numbers. 421 touchdowns, Phillip Rivers.
Matt Deckard, that's not right.
63,000 passing yards. It's a product of the NFL. He started exactly when you needed to start to put up numbers like this.
Did you see that comment that Matt puts up?
No.
We were talking about, you said he compiles yards. He goes, Rivers compiled a collection of he's got like 10 kids.
Kids, man. I think he has another one coming too. God bless him. If I had that much money, I would probably have 10 kids.
I would not.
I probably would.
I don't even, my first isn't even here yet. And I can already tell you, like, I'm good on like 2.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe.
We're out of bedrooms. Because what happens is, my daughter's now 3, and she's starting to grow up. And I have my niece is a year old, and she's so cute. And you miss those ages. And like if I was a much younger man, we would probably have another one. But I'm not. My retirement age is in my 60s. Once the baby's out of high school. So no, I don't need any more kids.
Yeah, I get that. I understand.
But I could have 10. I could have a couple more. I don't know if I need 10. That's a lot. Nope. But when you have that many millions of dollars, it's like, yeah, whatever.
K-Red said 2 is ruining me. I think 2 is my max. Might even try to convince my wife just for the 1, and we're good. I don't think I'm going to win that fight, but.
All right. Well, thank you, Tyler. All right, let's talk about the pitching matchups here. And but by the way, like I would love we were doing some work beforehand on like could we get a Mets guest for Friday if they end up winning the series? But like getting somebody this morning after last night's game, it has deemed to be impossible. But like the one thing we can do is we can play the Meet the Mets song because Mr. Met. I mean, if you want to you can break down pitching matchups, which we'll do in a second. You can break down relievers, starting lineup, bench, or whatever. But mascot against mascot. I mean, really, the Philly fanatic over Mr. Met.
What are you trying to have like a mascot fight? Mascot wars?
I'm just saying, like Mr. Met or the fanatic. Mr. Met is almost as pathetic as Sal Licata and some of those Mets fans that you just want to pat on the head. Sean Marash, I'm sure, is the same way of WFAN. All the Met fans that do radio that have just been crushed for so many years because of a pathetic ownership group. Well, listen, they have an owner that's spending money right now. And that's a good team. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Met is pathetic. Now, the theme song I do like, and Tyler, in radio, I could pretty much play whatever I wanted to on the air, and no one ever said anything to me about it.
Yeah, you get away with it in radio. I don't think we can do that in the digital world.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm still learning. You can't just like, go and get Meet the Mets on YouTube because that would probably be copyright infringement or I don't even know. I'm still trying to figure out but can I play the audio through my phone?
No.
Well, I can't.
Nope.
So it would pick that up too?
Correct.
Oh my God. Do you know the Meet the Mets song?
I do. Yeah.
Step right up and greet the Mets.
There was a YouTube comedian back in the day. Now I say back in the day, I mean like in the earlier ages of YouTube, right? Like late 2000s. And his whole comedy thing was like how the Mets are a dumpster fire,
right?
And he played the one role of the skit that he did at the time was he was playing the Mets GM, and he was like, "Hey, we have an opportunity for you to come work for the Mets." And he's like, "The openings we have are starting pitcher, first baseman, second baseman," and it was like the running gag, and it was comical because it was topical, and B because of my like innate Mets hatred.
Right.
But it was great because I went back and watched it the other day. It has like 10 million views and I'm like,
really? I got to check it out.
This is still funny. It's very dry. It's very like, you're either going to think it's hysterical or you're going to go,
you're either going to get it or you don't.
What? Right. But I went back and watched it and I'm like, this is still funny.
Yeah, sometimes you lose your identity when your team becomes good. Like the Red Sox fans, to me, were never the same once they were winning. They won 4 World Series over the course of however many years.
Yeah, well, they win 4
less than
not
2
7.
decades.
Was it 7? Yeah, 4, 7.
Yeah,
12
no, it's 20 years. This year's 20 years.
Or whatever,
yeah. 4 World Series. And so the curse of the Bambino doesn't get mentioned anymore because there's no curse. They won 4 championships in 20 years. Right. So it's like you lose your identity as the lovable losers or the angry, like, we'll never win. Right. The Cubs with that whole curse with the goat or whatever they had.
Sure.
That's gone. But meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side.
Oh, there's a whole song
Everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. It's the best I can do because we can't play it.
That happened. It was 20 seconds of our lives.
All right, starting pitching matchups. Here's what we know, Tyler, that Zach Wheeler is going to be starting for the Phillies. Now, because the Mets have played so many games in such a short period of time, they would be starting somebody like they'd let Saravino, Quintana probably would be the guy that they want to start, but he's not. He obviously can't go. Peterson pitched last night. So it looks like, at least according to Todd Zalecki, covers the Phillies for MLB.com. So the Todd Zalecki of New York, he had said that there was a source that had said that it might be leaning towards Tyler McGill, but they're still going to talk about it, and it's hardly set. So that's that. So it could be. It looks like I think it's going to be Tyler McGill against Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler has been fantastic his last 11 starts, if not the best pitcher in baseball. I mean, really, you look at it, that Cy Young race is going to be a lot closer than you thought it was going to be 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago because he's been that good. Tyler McGill had a weird season. He was down in the minors for at least a month or so, but then he came back up, and he was good after coming back up from AAA. Overall, you look at his numbers, and he pitches in the 4s, low 4s, his ERA, but it's down in the 4s because he had a really strong end to the regular season. So Wheeler, McGill, first right. You agree with that, Tyler Zuli? Because you are the PHLY Phillies expert. So really, I'm just talking about baseball. You're the expert of the show.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He came back in at the end of end of August. Excuse me. He made one start in July. Came back and then pitched in September as well. But since July. He's given up 3 earned runs or less in every start that he's made. Now, he hasn't gone more than 6 in any one particular start, but 5 1/3, 4, 6, 6, 4, 5 2/3, and each of them are 3 earned runs or less, including he went 4 innings and gave up 1 earned run against the Phillies back on September 22nd. The ERA did dip, you're right, from 5.6 down to 4.04. They talked about his kind of reinvention of one of his pitches, but to me, one of the big things that he does well. So he's 6'7". He's a big dude, 6'7", 230. So a guy that size, just naturally by his size, is going to be kind of, feels like when he gets down the mound, he's on top of you already, right? He is shrinking the distance of 60 feet 6 inches to a much smaller sample size. On top of that, he's in the 99th percentile in extension in Major League Baseball this year, which means on top of the fact that he's naturally 6'7" and a big dude, he is getting down the mound, he's striding well down the mound, and he's cutting that distance of 60 feet 6 inches down, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet, and probably not 10 feet. 10's a little exaggeration.
As opposed to Ranger Suarez, he's probably like 5 feet closer to the.
He is. It feels like when he is releasing the ball, it feels like he's on top of you. Now, his walk rates aren't great. He's getting barreled pretty, he got barreled a lot this year. His hard hit percentage is in the 17th percentile. And that was probably more due in part to the fact that he was struggling in the first half of the season before they sent him down. But when you have a guy who has reinvented a pitch of his to become, have much more downward dive to it, plus the fact that he is basically, it feels like he's standing in your back pocket when he's releasing the baseball, he becomes a much more difficult task to go up against. This guy has had a much better second half of the season, and while doesn't strike fear in the hearts of Phillies fans, he's pitched well in the second half.
He's certainly no bum, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, realistically, if you're the Mets, you need 5 innings and 3 runs from him. you can see how the Mets win games. They let them stay in the game. Even if you have a lead, they come back. I mean, that's been their MO the last 6 weeks of the season, maybe even longer, that they'll come back in games. So if McGill can give you 5 innings, this is playoff baseball. It's tough to get your starter into the 7th inning, into the 8th inning. Zach Wheeler needs to give you 6 innings. He needs to give you 6 innings of 1 or 2 runs. That's it. If the Phillies come out, and this is why I like them a lot in game 1, because Citizens Bank Park will be electric. They got to get to them early. If they can get to them early, I think they knock them out early, and then they can kind of pile on some runs. Because the Mets aren't going away. So you need to build a little bit bigger of a lead against this Mets team than maybe some of the other teams that you would play. But get to them early. So that's so that looks like it's what it is for game 1. We'll get to the rest of the series. Our locks, and just saying, we'll give you 3 games this week, so there's no Eagles game. Just saying, yeah, like we're on fire right now. We've been nailing it, both of us. The whole show has been nailing our picks. So don't go anywhere. We got that coming up here in a second. But listen, let's talk about Dr. Glatt. Glatt Hair Restoration. Established by the late Dr. Paul Glatt, now part of the Morgenstern Center, under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. Listen, I'm on camera every morning now. This is awesome. I do not have a face for radio, as many people say. But I just did TV on Fox 29. And I'm amazed at how many people watch Good Day. I guess I shouldn't be. It's very popular. But I got a ton of text messages from people that are like, holy crap, like you're on Good Day right now, taking pictures of the TV or whatever. And I couldn't help but notice how good the hair was looking. Yeah, it's looking good. That's not me. This isn't good genetics. Anthony's got a great head of hair. I don't have great genetics, but I have Glatt Hair Restoration. So you've heard me talk about them for a decade now. It's the place to go if you're worried about your hair loss. All right. And this is for women too. If you're worried about hair loss, if you're thinning or balding, they have a number of different things for you. This is during all stages of hair loss. All right. Leading cutting edge treatments for prevention and restoration. So we talk about the hair restoration surgery like I had. Boom. Here are the results. This is my real growing hair. The before and after pictures are amazing. PRP and stem cell restoration, vitamin supplements. If you're a woman that's shedding a lot and you're going bald, or even men, this is something that I've seen firsthand work with some of the products that are available out there. Laser light therapy and much more. Each patient will receive a complimentary one-on-one consultation with Glatt Hair Restoration's hair team. And these are people and my friends that I've known for a long time. They've been in the business, each one of them over 30 years. So you're getting experience, you're getting success, the most successful hair practice. It's all they do in the country, Glatt Hair Restoration. Call them today, 610-980-4000, free consultation. They'll answer some questions over the phone, 610-980-4000, or glatthairmctr.com, glatthairmctr.com. Let's talk about Bet Parks for a second. Damn right, we're going to talk about Bet Parks for a second. Because right now, get to the one and only sportsbook app that I would ever recommend. And you look at some of the series odds here. Phillies minus 185, Mets plus 150. Over for games. Over-unders 4.5. Phillies are plus 155 to go under. Or excuse me, minus 190 to go under. Mets are plus 155, so they're favorites in that. Game 1, tomorrow afternoon, minus 190 for the Phillies. Everything you need, player props, live in-game betting, BetParks app. I looked ahead to next week. Tyler Zulli, what do you think the line is next week for the Eagles and the Browns? The look-ahead line right now. You can bet it on the BetParks app.
I would say it is Eagles minus 2.5.
Ooh.
Way
Eagles
off.
minus 7.
Is it really?
An Eagles line!
That's a hatred on the Browns, I think, more than maybe they think Eagles bounce back, but that seems high because the Browns defense is good.
I think Vegas is off on their Eagles line right now. But, so like I would never bet the Eagles minus 7 right now. It'll come down. That'll be bet down. You can probably get it at 5. But, yeah, you're looking to see what line it is, right? If it was a 2.5-point line, it's like, uh-oh. They don't have a lot of confidence in the Eagles. Now, that's a big line. But whatever you're looking for, BetParks has it for you. It's the only app that I would ever recommend. And right now, the 50-1 odds boost, what they're going on right now to pick this year's Pro Football Championship, you got to check them out. Got to check it out. Limited time offer, new customers only for that. You must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, Michigan, or Maryland. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. BetParks. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, rest of the matchups here. It gets a little murky because now David Peterson, who could start game 2, he just closed last night. His last start was September 29th, so he would be rested. Saravino, Quintana, and Minaya all wouldn't be on regular rest until game 3. But that's 3 pitchers on regular rest. So do you move up one of these guys to game 2? Or do you have your guys go on regular rest? I don't know.
I think
you seem to be leaning that you think they start Quintana or Severino in game 2.
I think they end up starting Severino in game 2.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it has something to do with if they win or lose game 1. If they win game 1, maybe they're a little more confident.
Do they not set the rotation now? They wait?
I mean, they could. They certainly could. I mean, Rob Thomson said he's going to set his rotation and it's not going to change. Now, that's
different for them.
It's not what I would do personally. I would see how game 1's outcome happens. But I think when you are the road team and the underdog, if you lose game 1, you would love to get a split and come back home and get games 3 and 4 at home to try to jump and make this a 5-game series. So if you win game 1, I think maybe there's a little bit of playing with house money, and you do go to a Peterson, who I know hasn't started in a while, but pitched last night, and allow Quintana and Severino to get on their regular rest. You lose game 1, it probably puts a little onus on you to not come back home down 2-0. I think you go with the guy with you either go with the guy with the best stuff, who I think is Severino, or you go with the guy who has pitched the best for you down the stretch, which is Quintana. Now, you're talking about probably Quintana pitched yesterday. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He's probably not the option on Sunday, but Severino could be. He pitched game 1. That was Tuesday. You're talking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 4 days. That's enough in the playoffs. I think if the Mets lose, it's going to be Severino in game 2.
I think you nailed it. The Mets don't have to set the pitching rotation because really they're probably not even really sure. And you can just say, you know what, we're not sure yet, to be announced, and you put your game 1 starter out there. Peterson makes sense if they win that first game in game 2. Now, for the Phillies, it becomes Chris Sanchez or Aaron Nola. And we had talked to Tom McCarthy. I put the cut up on my Twitter. We had talked to Tom McCarthy last Friday, I believe. And he had said he thinks that Topper is leaning Nola, but then also said that Sanchez makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure they're considering Sanchez as well. Topper spoke this week, and just the way that he was talking, to me, it feels like Chris Sanchez is going to start game 2. Especially with the atmosphere that it would be game 3 up in New York. If you were going to Milwaukee, I mean, it would still be loud there. But to me, Sanchez makes more sense in game 2, so that's what I think they do.
I think a lot of people are starting to agree with you. The home road splits are real. I think Aaron Nola is more of a you know his demeanor. He's pretty calm. He's pretty collected. Pitching on the road he's better at home as well. But the splits for Sanchez are substantial. In terms of ERA and WHIP and things like that. He's just much better at home than he is on the road. I would not be stunned if Sanchez pitches game 2. I think that they're probably still going to end up going Nola game 1. But I wouldn't be shocked if they decide that those matchups are significant. Or those splits are significant, and Sanchez pitches game 2, and Nola goes game 3 in New York on Tuesday.
So Citizens Bank Park, 200 home runs this year. Citi Field, 192. Just like my perception is Citi Field's a bigger park and less of a home run park. And we know Nola gives up a ton of home runs. So is that a better spot? But I think he goes Sanchez and Nola, but...
It's also, by the way, the Mets are a pretty right-handed heavy lineup.
Right.
So I don't know if you talk about righty splits. I don't know in this particular instance if it matters because it's a right-handed heavy lineup to begin with.
Right.
Maybe you do want your 2 righties to begin the series.
I wonder I'll have to look a little deeper into because like Schwarber has reverse splits against lefties. You have to look into it.
There's a chance that the Mets could end. I mean, they have 2 lefties in the rotation to begin with. And if Peterson goes, I think that, they may end up having 3 lefties in the first 4 games.
All right. Wait, are you ready?
Sure. I don't know what I'm ready for, but sure.
The 2 players that are going to decide this series for the Phillies, not non-pitchers, are Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos. Because what you had mentioned about the left-handed pitchers.
It's probably fair.
Got to make them pay, man. I mean, I know Schwarber has reverse splits or whatever, but like Bryce Harper isn't as good against lefties. Stott, as we've seen, Marsh, as we've seen, they almost became platoon players. You wonder, Trey Turner's not getting benched, but like, is Marsh 100% starting against the left-handed starters? I know Hayes is apparently 100% healthy. I don't know how I feel about that, but like, these lefties come in, your right-handers got to make them pay. Reese Hoskins isn't here anymore, man.
No, I think that's a fair sentiment to say that. And Trey Turner's, kind of a table setter for them. Obviously, Schwarber's your leadoff hitter, but Turner can be a table setter for this team. I think anybody that's in the top 6 of that's right-handed is going to be important to this team's success. Like I said, they're going to be throwing a ton of lefties at you, especially in the rotation. And Quintana is the type of lefty who he's just like one of those consummate pro lefties, right? And I don't know if you noticed the graphic. You saw the graphic yesterday in the broadcast. He is like a 4-pitch pitcher against righties, and he's a 2-pitch pitcher against lefties. He's sinker sweeper against lefties. He's gonna try to run the sweeper on your hand or the sinker on your hands, keep you tied up, and then he's gonna run the sweeper away from you. I think it's imperative when you face a guy like Quintana to make him work back up into the zone. His location's been awesome over the last couple of weeks. He threw a pitch last night that was a called strike 3. That was a sinker on the outer black to a lefty. It was like pin. You could
unhittable,
thread a needle through the position that it was so good. I mean, this rotation has deserved a lot of credit for what they've done. I mean, him and Minaya and Severino have been awesome down the stretch.
For more of that analysis, man, you just got my juices going. PHLY Phillies. When are you guys on today? What's the schedule?
We'll be on at 11.
Okay.
And then we'll be back tomorrow for pre and post tomorrow and Sunday.
Oh, damn right you will. That's awesome. All right. So let's give our picks here, and then we'll finish up with some predictions for the Phillies this weekend. But let's do our picks. Our locks of the week. We do 3 and then the Eagles game. The Eagles are not playing this week, obviously, so we will give you 3 games. And I didn't like the way you put the graphic up there last week, Tyler, because it made my picks look bad. Because really, what was even keeping me close to 500 was my Eagles picks. Well, now we're both 4-0 with the Eagles this year, right?
That's the separator. It's your Eagles picks and the rest of the NFL.
I like to make it look better.
Well, I mean, it does look better if you put the 2 together, for sure.
2-1 non-Eagles pick last week, 3-1 overall. All right, here's what I got. Vikings have been unbelievable. Every week that I keep saying Sam Darnold's going to be returning to being sucky Sam Darnold, and he comes out and he looks great. I don't know if he's going to return to being sucky Sam Darnold, but the Jets have to start playing better at some point. Aaron Rodgers has to start playing better at some point. This team was talked about as being a potential Super Bowl team. They don't even look like a potential playoff team right now. They're on the road. Why are they only 2.5-point underdogs in Minnesota against the Vikings? Well, it's because this is a desperate Jets team that needs this win. I'll take the New York Jets plus 2.5 at the Minnesota Vikings. All right, Bills at the Texans. The Bills have been the sensation of the NFL. All right, just how everybody drew it up. They lost a lot of weapons on offense. They got rid of a lot of guys on defense, and they've been arguably the best team in the NFL so far. Josh Allen is a great player. Great quarterbacks are great whether they have great wide receivers, running backs, or whatever, because they're great quarterbacks. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. Needs to win a Super Bowl, needs to get to a Super Bowl, but he's a great player. At the Texans are really good as well. Maybe have struggled a little bit more than I would have thought this season. Why are the Bills 1-point favorites at the Houston Texans? Because Las Vegas is expecting the Bills to continue a roll. I'll take the Buffalo Bills -1 on the road against the Texans. I am picking against all 3 home teams this week. The Ravens -2 at the Bengals. Bengals are kind of reeling right now. They got to win, but is everything okay? Is everything copacetic? I don't believe it is. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, when guys are unhappy with their contracts, that seeps into the locker room, whether they're good teammates or good people or what. It's a bad organization. I don't think it's a great head coach. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they got to start rolling here and separate some distance in the division, and they have to keep up with the conference as well. I like the Ravens in this game. AFC North -2 at the Bengals. Baltimore Ravens -2 at the Cincinnati Bengals. They are my 3. As you can see, my record 4-0, 4-8. Now, see, if you put my record was 8-8, people would be like, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says. 2024. All right, maybe if I parse
it's fine.
I'll parse it a little bit better. I'll say NFL record.
No, it's
and Eagles record to get you to 8-8.
Listen, it's accurate. It's accurate. I got to turn things around. I went 2-1 last week. We're having another good week this week.
So let me ask you a question. Any concern about the reason I stayed away from that, because I like the Jets in this one too, just because I think at some point, it's the NFL, so teams are going to lose, and the Vikings have been awesome. Any concern about this game. It's a London game, right? 9:30 start
9:30.
time.
No.
Those games get sloppy. They get ugly. Does the London game almost give a little bit of credence to the lesser team or the team that's not playing as well? Because of all of those factors?
No, I don't think so. To me, this is still very much because the teams leave the day before. It's like playing a game in Seattle. They don't even embrace going over to London. They just want to go about their business. So to me, this is just like another away game.
Okay.
And so they're not in Minnesota. They're technically at London, but still, no, I don't think it does. The Jets need this game. If the Jets lose this game, they're in real trouble. Like, we're not talking Super Bowl. They need to turn their season around now. So I don't know if they're going to. They have a bad head coach, but Aaron Rodgers needs to play better.
All right, so let me get to my picks. Here you go. You have them across the board. I am going to take the Bears over the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton's been a little bit of a buoy for that team since he stepped in and started as the quarterback for Bryce Young. DeAndre Swift finally got going last week. I like the tandem of Swift and Roschon Johnson, who I think is going to continue to get more touches. As you can see, this is the first week all year I am not taking any dogs, and in fact, I'm taking 3 straight games that have a 3.5-point line. Washington has fluctuated between 3 and 4 all week. When I last looked, they were 3.5. If it bounces to 4, I'm still going to take them at 4. But I am going to take the Chicago Bears in this one over the Carolina Panthers minus 3.5. I'm taking Washington until the wheels fall off. Jaden Daniels is electric. This Browns defense is good. Don't get me wrong. But Deshaun Watson has not played particularly well. And I think Washington's defense has been better than advertised. And I think rightfully so, Jaden Daniels is getting all the hype and all the credibility because he's been awesome. But their defense has been pretty good.
It's a great point.
As well. I'm going to take Washington minus 3.5. If it does get up to 4 by game time, I'm still taking Washington minus 4. The last one I'm going to go with is the only road team that I'm taking this week. I'm taking the Packers at minus 3.5. Over the Rams. The Rams are one of the walking woundeds of the NFL. Jordan Love is kind of got his feet under him a little bit in the second half. He was dreadful in the first half of the game against Minnesota. Now, I know it was a lot of garbage time stuff. Minnesota was up by 28 at one point. It was, kind of garbage time stats, but I think he at least got himself structured a little bit more sound. I think you get Josh Jacobs going in this one. I think you get an opportunity for Emmanuel Wilson as well to get some touches in this one. I'm going to take Green Bay minus 3.5. I just think that the Rams are in bad shape health-wise right now. Matt Stafford's throwing to like me and you. It's like DeMarcus Robinson and me and you out there. So I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. I'm going to take all favorites, all within the 3 to 4 range, which means that probably going to have an 0-3 week this week, but that's where I'm going to sit.
Yeah, it's because the Rams have screwed me before. Just when this happens with the Steelers as well. Just when you're ready to pronounce them dead, you can't. It's like Wendell Smallwood. You couldn't get rid of him here when he was an Eagle. And every time I've ever bet on the Rams, and I'm like, they're done. They're toast. Like last year, I thought they were done.
This would be the game that they win 37-12.
Yeah, no, like it's that. So that's why I stayed away from that. But I agree with you. I think the Packers are ready to kind of hit the ground running here.
Well, it's good defense. We knew it was a good defense coming into the year. To have Jordan Love back, I think is, and Malik Willis played decently in the 2 starts that he made.
Listen, considering he probably would have been released if he wasn't traded, he's been good.
Yeah.
But also, Matt LaFleur is a really good coach.
Agree.
He knows how he protected him. He didn't make him do too much. It was a really, really good coaching job with Malik Willis. He looked good.
So I'm going to take those three games. The one that I like sat on for like 10 minutes and I just shied away from it because it's 2 bad football teams was Vegas and Denver. And I was like this close to taking Vegas as the
Raider line,
as the road dog. Denver's defense has played really well. Bo Nix has not. Bo Nix won a game last week. I think he threw for like 60 yards. The Raiders have a dysfunctional thing going on with Devontae Adams.
Oh, my God.
And their head coach, Antonio Pierce, has thrown them under the bus like 4 times this year already. That's what made me stay away from it. But I was so close to taking Vegas in this one.
Yeah, it's a Vegas line for sure. 100%. I looked at it too, and then I'm like, I'm not betting on Gardner Minshew and Antonio Pierce and whatever else. I just slacked you something. I just sent you a slack if you could get that ready because I am very unhappy right now with the development that has happened. But yeah. So just predictions. I think the Phillies win the first 2 games. They lose game 3 and they win game 4. That's how I see this series going. And it starts tomorrow afternoon. Zach Wheeler comes out, gives you 6 strong innings. They get to Tyler McGill early. And so I think that the Phillies win a close one tomorrow. And then Chris Sanchez game 2. And we're coming in here on Monday feeling really good about your Philadelphia Phillies. So off day Monday, and then game 3 would be Tuesday in New York. I want to give a shout out to all the diehards out there. Thank you very much, diehards. Love y'all. Appreciate it. So what's your, you should probably save your prediction for the Phillies show.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same regardless. I'm not changing between now and 11:30.
All right, what you got?
I'm taking the Phillies in 5. I think this is going to be a difficult series. The Mets have been playing some of the best baseball across the league. Like we talked about, them and the Tigers have had the best record since September. I believe the Tigers were 17-8. The Mets were 17-9 or inverse, something along those lines. They don't go away. They continue to fight. You saw it in the doubleheader game 1 against the Braves. You saw it in game 3 last night against the Brewers. This is a good Mets team. I think the Phillies win game 1. And then after that, it's going to be a fight to who can win on the other team's field the most is effectively what I'm going with. I'm taking the Phillies in 5, but I think this is going to be a difficult series.
5 difficult series. Yeah. I think it goes in 4. If it goes to 5, I'm worried. Even being at home in that 5th game, be a little bit worried. So did you have the picture?
I do.
So my oldest Gianna had a teacher last year, Ms. Saylor, and she is the best. I'm so fortunate to live in a school district, and like our elementary school is amazing. Teachers are great. Like can't say enough about it. Love them. So we had Miss Saylor last year, and great teacher. She's from New York, and she's a Met fan. And she's a real Met fan. She's not just from New York. Oh yeah, I'm a Met fan. No, like I knew she was a Met fan last year. Wears the hat, has the T-shirt or whatever. Respects the Phillies. Goes down to Phillies games. She has daughters as well, and I believe that they are Phillies fans. But the Mets weren't in the playoffs last year, so I don't have to worry about it, right? I received a text message from her to me and my wife just a few moments ago while live on the air.
Oh, no.
Lena, my oldest daughter, she's not in school today. She's sick. But listen, man, these girls are being brought up right. They have lots of gear. So Lena's wearing her Phillies shirt today. So pop it up on the screen. Take a look at this picture that was sent to me just moments ago. There's Lena in her Phillies shirt with Ms. Saylor's Mets hat on her head. How could you do that to a 7-year-old? How could you do that to me? This is Tyler.
This is like a destruction of trust. It isn't like
I don't know how the principal isn't going to get an email by 2 minutes that I'm off the air. This is unacceptable. This is the kind of thing that you don't do. This crosses a line. Kristen Saylor, this crosses a line. I will not tolerate this. Are you kidding me? Putting a Met cap on my daughter, poor 7-year-old. I mean, she's rooting for the Phillies. I can't believe this. All right, anyway. All right, so everybody going down to the games, enjoy yourself. Don't get too drunk and fight these Mets fans. I've seen too much of that before. Enjoy yourself. Let's get going. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about what the atmosphere is going to be like down there. Are you down at any of the games via media or?
No, because we're going to be doing pre and post here most games. So, in fact, all games pre and post. So we'll probably just be here.
That's a studio. Nice.
We're going to do some watch-alongs. We'll do some watch parties. So we're thinking about trying to get some of our diehards over here to hang out with us. So we'll keep you updated on all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be here for pre and post for every postseason game.
Awesome. All right, everybody, enjoy the night. I'm a big bye week fan. I've said this on the air before, and people make fun of me because I love bye weeks.
Yeah, I'm a big bye week fan with this team this year. I don't have to watch them this weekend.
Yeah, I hate nationally televised games because they're late and I'm old, but I love just be able to watch football all day long without having to worry about the Eagles making me mad. So enjoy your weekend. Go Phillies. Ant's on right now. Switch over and talk to him. Watch him. Go Phillies. We'll be back Monday at 8 a.m. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.